everyone. So I'm Camden, and today I just want to share a story of how I've seen God use me and what I've learned from it. So as many of you may or may not know, I ended up serving at the prayer table. Now this is not something I would naturally do. If at the beginning I'd been asked, would you be willing to come and stand at the prayer table for an hour calling out to people and offering to pray for them, I would have just flat out said no. I would have been like, that's just not something I do. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. Sure, serving community in this way is something God wants his people to do, but I can leave that to the people God has actually gifted to be social and interact well with other people. Basically, I set up a box. If God asked me to do anything inside the box, I'd be like, yes, God, absolutely, right away. But everything outside, I'm like, sorry, God, that's just not for me. Find someone else. But God wasn't stopped by my box. So it all started when I was at the 707. I had heard about the prayer tabling and saw those near places I would normally be as I'm heading to and from class. So I was thinking about stopping by sometime just to see what it was about. Then at the 707, they said to ask Emma if I had any questions or to learn more about it. I was slightly curious and figured no harm in asking, and Emma would enjoy telling me about it. After hearing about it, I felt it probably wasn't for me and just kind of thought that was that. A bit over a week later, Emma sent me information about the prayer table and asked if I'd be willing to stop by sometime that week as I'm heading out from class just to see what it's like. I had a class that got out at 10:45 on Tuesday, so I was thinking I could head over for the last 5 to 10 minutes before they start packing up. The issue is Jeff got sick, so the prayer tabling on Tuesday was canceled. What this meant was my only option was to go on Wednesday, when my first class was until the afternoon, and I would have no excuse but to stay longer. I remember getting that text. It said I took just over an hour to respond, but it felt much longer than that. I remember pacing back and forth, praying and struggling with God, even shedding some tears before finally saying yes. Then on Wednesday, I took that last step of commitment and showed up at the prayer table to serve the Lord. Alright, so just to recap how I ended up serving at the prayer table. First of all, I coincidentally had a class that got out 15 minutes before the prayer tabling time ended. Then I coincidentally asked Emma about the prayer tabling, even though I wasn't actually interested in serving. She coincidentally messaged me over a week later, a week when coincidentally Jeff got sick, which coincidentally left me with no other option but to go all in serving on Wednesday. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems like the odds of all that happening just by chance are quite low. Now, my time at the prayer table itself wasn't anything too crazy. I did call out to people and I prayed for some of them, and I have to admit, it was pretty rewarding. What really stood out to me, though, was just what it took to get me there. It wasn't like an all or nothing single decision. I mean, it did lead up to that. But God led me out of the boat one step at a time, with each step, bringing me farther outside my comfort zone and increasing my dependence and willingness to serve Him. One thing that stands out to me is that even though standing on the corner calling out to people is totally not my thing, God still chose to use me. It makes me think of Moses at the burning bush and how God chose him to speak to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites, even though he claimed to be slow of speech. What this shows me is that God isn't limited by our inabilities. In fact, the opposite is probably true. And so even when God is asking me to do something that's beyond my comfort zone, whether that's like a specific activity, like a Snapshot, for example, or just being more open to invitations or bold to speak up, I should be willing to step out in faith and trust that God will grow and use me for His purpose. I'm Camden, that's my Snapshot.